Okay, so now we have all of our renders done. Let's get these into Premiere and compile a video. So I'm going to go to import, and first I'm going to import shot one. I don't know why I numbered it with this one at the end, but that's all right. Click on shot one underscore 1.000 image sequence. Make sure that's checked and hit open. And it's going to bring it in as a video. I'll go ahead and do that again. And I'm going to scroll down until I see shot two. And I want the first shot two file, which is right here, number 70. Select it, and image sequence, and it brings them both in. I'm going to highlight both of them, right click, modify, interpret footage, and change that to 24, and hit OK. And then I can just drag them both in. I think it will put them in the right order. It does. So, you're going to notice that this renders a little bit more washed out. And there are ways of adjusting how it renders out of Maya. This is all about the color space settings. And although that's really important to understand, it's sort of beyond the scope of this class. I don't really want to dive into too much of that because part of the reason of rendering as EXRs is that we're able to alter that now. So you'll notice that it's a little bit more like faded looking, right? Like the blacks aren't as black, the whites aren't as white. It's a little bit more gray feeling. And so we're going to use the Lumetri color panel to adjust this. Now we'll also say if you're using Resolve, DaVinci Resolve, it comes with a whole set of color things, color correction tools as well, and it also may come in looking differently because this is all about the color space that we're working within. But you're going to need two menus up to work on this. So under Windows, you want to make sure Lumetri Color is turned on, and also Lumetri Scopes. So my Lumetri Color, when I turned it on, it's over here. So that's what this panel is over here. And then Lumetri Scopes are over here. It opened them up, but it didn't show them quite so well. There they are. And so I'm going to just select my first video, shot one, and you'll see that by having it open, it automatically applies it like an effect to it. And this allows us to change the color and the lighting and the exposure in this scene. Now, I'm not actually adjusting the original lights, but what we've done is we've rendered this in a way that a lot of information is saved in every image. That's why it's bigger than a PNG or a JPEG in EXR. So you can do this with JPEGs and PNGs, but it actually starts to degrade the image faster. So essentially, if I were to zoom in here really closely to this, let's do 400 times here where I can see stuff right? A little bit better. Okay. Yeah, here's a good spot. So you'll see that we have like lots of detail in here and in this gray color. But then we also have some like whites in here. There may be some detail that was saved in the image that we can't see anymore because it's just completely white. Well, that detail is still saved in an EXR, whereas it's not in a JPEG. It's sort of compressed out in order to make it a smaller file. So what this is going to allow us to do is sort of pull some of those details that may be getting washed out, or some of the details in the blacks that are getting lost in the shadows. So let's set this back to our fit window here. Go back to this frame. And so these scopes are telling us about that. And so yours probably looks a little different. If you right click, yours maybe doesn't have the parade. But what I really would like to see is parade and waveform RGB, or Luma would be fine as well. Luma actually probably tells you a little bit more about it because that's the brightness of things. But you can have either of those. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it now. So this is showing you if we want, like, let's say our image was filling overall to blue, right? This is how we could take some of that blue out of it and bring some of that red back, right? And just getting these balanced. that might be something you want to do, right? I don't really have that problem in this image, but like this is feeling very cool. It's got a lot more blues up here in this area, sort of spiking up. And if I wanted to make it feel cooler, you can see that I'm raising how much blue is in the scene and taking away some of the red and green. And so it's really just to get the right color in there. For right now, though, I just wanted to show you that existed in case your scene just didn't come out the way you wanted it to. We got a little bit of an ability to correct some of that. What I really want to look at is over here. So this is our brightness of the image, right? And so just to sort of see what happens is if I go over here to exposure and I turn that up, you'll see it's pushing all of the pixel colors up toward white, right? The top of this line is white. And it's pushing all of those colors that may have been gray or even like a pale green up to white. And if I keep going, stuff starts to become really washed out. We lose details in here. And it's because all of that information got scrunched into just this really small range of white, right? And so what I really want for contrast is this is 0, this is black. Right? If I pull my exposure all the way down, I lose stuff in the shadows. And what I really want is for that to be a little bit more evenly distributed, right? I want some of the things that are gray to be more black, like they're in the shadows, like deeper shadows. And some of the things that are sort of washed out in gray, I want to push those up more toward a highlight. So you can do a little bit of that just automatically by pushing up contrast, and you'll see that this is going to get us closer to what was coming out of Maya. And you'll see what it's doing is it's taking all of that. If I pull the contrast down, all of the color in our scene is scrunched in between like 60 and 15, right? And that means all this other range of color and brightness is lost. Right? So if I sort of push that out, it spreads it out a little bit more across that entire spectrum. Now I pushed it all kind of down into the darker colors a little bit more, so I'd like to pull some of that up. So maybe exposure is going to sort of pull it all out. It's going to be really contrasty. Right? So that maybe isn't. It's actually not bad. I could probably pull back on some of the contrast and get something looking kind of interesting. I also wanted to show you that down here we have this ability to adjust highlights, which are going to pull out those really bright whites in there, right? And shadows, which are going to push deeper into the shadows. Right? I'll zero that back out just so you can see this a little bit better. We also have whites and blacks, and so if I turn up the whites, it's going to pull those lighter colors up into white. And we're starting to reveal some of the detail out here in this this nebula back here. And then if I push the blacks higher or lower, it's going to bring some of that deepness back to the black and in between the stars in the sky, right? So we can just kind of play around with this until we get what we want. And so it's a little too much on the black. Pull that back just a little bit. And actually I want to push overall the contrast. I'm going to pull back a little bit on the whites, pull back a little bit on the shadows on this. And this is looking okay to me. I'm going to push up exposure a little bit. I feel like it's starting to wash out some stuff back there. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that back down to 0. And so this is just where we can adjust this to get the look that we would like. And just to sort of show you what that looks like, that's what we had before, and this is what we have now, right? So if I go to effects controls, you'll see that this is just an effect that's been applied to my shot. So I can select that Lumetri color effect, just hit Control C, and then go to my second shot and hit Control V and see if we get something pretty good. It's not bad, but I noticed that it's really making the sky almost overly dark here. So I'm going to pull some of those blacks back out of there. Maybe some of those shadows back out. There we go. Maybe pull my contrast back down Actually, let's pull the contrast down and put some of the blacks back. So what I like about this is I'm able to see my claw over here a little bit more clearly, right? And so we can play with this and get something that maybe works a little bit more. You're seeing a lot of that sort of scrunching into the black here. Wouldn't mind raising some of that up a little bit. Yeah, and so you see what it's done is it's pushed a little bit of that darkness to the middle here and got us a little bit more contrast to where we can see here. Overall, I do feel like it's a little bit bright compared to the previous shot. Like it feels like the lighting is a little brighter in this one, so I may go ahead and pull that exposure back down. And I'm just checking it out in different spots. Yeah, let's try that. So once we have this, we can export this video again. I'll show you another thing that we can do with this. File, export. So it's running a little slow on mine right now. Export media. And then once this is open, I'm just going to change my settings here. I'll just, for right now, I'm going to put it on my desktop and we'll move it somewhere else in a minute. Final, let's do Pr2 final. Let's do 3D final. So we're going to save it here in the scene. Save. And I can set my presets. I'm right now using high quality 1080p. If I go to video, HD, that's going to give me a H.264. So I can export out of this, but it actually does a better job if I send it to the media encoder. And so what that's actually going to do is it's going to open up another program. The really cool thing about this is, let's say you wanted to export out multiple versions of this video. You wanted to export out one that was really high res, one that, had multiple different compressions, one you're going to upload, one you're going to send to people on your phone. Or you can even have multiple videos that you're working on. You can send them all to the media encoder, and it opens it like this. And when you hit the play, it adds it to this list of the queue. And when I hit play, it'll actually work through all of them. So let's say you have a whole bunch of stuff to export out in all at once. You can get your queue loaded up here, hit export, and then, go get lunch or whatever and wait for that to get done. So it's kind of like a way to manage those exports. So we'll go ahead and hit play on this and let it kick out the video. It's kind of a little more contrasty now on my preview, but let's see how it looks. The final thing. Let me actually go find that video and we will watch it. And so now we can watch this. So watching this, actually, I feel like this is feeling a little too contrasty on here now. I'm probably going to pull some of the brightness down in that second shot, maybe in the first shot as well. But overall, I actually think it's kind of neat.